Speaking of pre-crisis patterns, now once the crisis came in and when policies were introduced to mitigate this crisis, the austerity measures, the burden of these austerity measures were felt by a large amount of people in the country. What are your thoughts to those people who are probably watching this interview right now? What are your thoughts to those affected people, given that they had to carry this burden?
So I think first thing we should all recognize was that there was a major crisis 3 years ago, where you saw widespread shortages everywhere. Inflation reached 70%. The program has been critical to take the economy away from that very dark period of a crisis, so to bring inflation down. And what we do know is that inflation is very regressive. It affects poor people the most, who have to buy, they can't buy their basic food. Now, we also recognize that some of the adjustments that the program requires moving away from the pre-crisis regime where you gave lots of subsidies, because that was part of the problem. So if you want to address the root cause of the problem, you have to address what issues, for example, like what's happening with electricity, right? So one of the pieces of the program is to have cost-effective pricing, which is cost recovery pricing for energy. That obviously transfers costs to some people. It makes electricity energy consumption more expensive. But I think it's important to recognize that that is a way of fixing a fundamental problem that existed before, which is what pushed the country into a major crisis. At the same time, a lot of focus has been put on having progressive reforms, ensuring that it's not unfairly being borne by the vulnerable in society. I'll give you some examples. We put a floor on social spending. Before the program, 0.3% of GDP was on social spending. We raised that to 0.7%. So it's more than doubling the amount that needs to go to help vulnerable in society. And now for the first year, that is actually being met. And if that continues to be met on an ongoing basis, I think people will start seeing some relief. Also, the tax base has to be widened. There are too few people who pay taxes. There are too many tax exemptions. Bringing more of the people so that they're more fairly treated is going to be important. And lastly, I think people in Sri Lanka want to regain trust in the government, want to believe that anti-corruption is possible, good governance is possible. And then at least they would feel, okay, then it's okay to pay your taxes because you know it's going to be well used. So that is a change that will not happen overnight, but there is commitment to it, and it is important for the government to continue to deliver on that.
Touching on that, and my final question, Dr. Gopinath, is